Well, here we go, another rockin' awesome Saturday night, August 28th, 2021. We are going to uncover the curtains. We are going to let you know what's going on in Watchtower. Coming up next on JW World News. Well, welcome in, everyone. My name's Rick Farron. I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world. And we have been doing this program for 16 years, every Saturday night. We have never missed a Saturday night. We are here because you are here. And I have to say something, friends. More and more people are leaving the Watchtower. I know you guys listen in every week and say, Rick, you've been saying this for years. Well, yes. We have been counting down the Watchtower since 2004, but here we are now in 2021, and I have to tell you, I am getting very, very pleased. We are getting points on the scoreboard. The Watchtower, as we say here, they are dead. They just haven't fallen over yet. Really, that's how I feel, and that's how many of you feel. But anyways, I wanted to bring you up to speed on what's going on behind the curtain. So thank you for coming in. Thank all those people for coming in on Facebook and YouTube, our video suite. Thank the people for coming into our radio telephone network. And it's all working. Thousands of people come in and listen to these programs. So I like it. I think it's amazing that more and more people are starting to connect with and starting to see what's going on with the Watchtower organization. I don't know if you heard about this week or not, but the door-to-door preaching work, that doesn't seem to be the primary focus of the Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. Doesn't seem to be any attention given to that at all. And, you know, many people are wondering, including even a person that called me here at the Six Screens, and this is actually getting them out of the so-called truth. They wanted to know why. The question would be, why would Jehovah allow the door-to-door preaching work to come to an abrupt end? Well, it did come to an abrupt end. They haven't been out on the door-to-door work now going on 2 years. And let me tell you something. This is causing many Jehovah's Witnesses to have serious doubts about the organization. But you know what the elders are saying and circuit overseers? Don't worry. Don't worry. The governing body is on top of all things. And in time, they're going to explain why this is happening regarding the preaching work. Because really, weren't we all told when we were Jehovah's Witnesses what an important work that was? And we were to preach to all the inhabited nation for witness to all the people in the world. And now they put an abrupt end to it. And I'm thinking here, and I have evidence to back my thoughts up. I'm going to focus in on a Watch Study article. Well, that's what the elders have been saying. Look for a Watchtower Study article. It's going to be coming up, and they'll explain everything to us. So I've been watching for this particular Watchtower article. So I'm going to tell you, in this new Watchtower, I'll give you the date here shortly, they have new light. They are now introducing new light. The latest Watchtower Study article seems to be slowly introducing the idea that the preaching work is not about saving people anymore. I've got to mute some people. Hold on 1 second. All right. Yeah, sometimes what happens is people leave their phones unmuted, and it kind of causes some issues here. But anyways, the latest study in the Watchtower, it's slowly introducing the idea that the preaching work is not about saving people anymore. Yeah, that's what they're talking about. In fact, the October 2021 Watchtower Study Edition, entitled Do Not Give Up, it says that everyone that is going to be saved is already in the ark of salvation. Oh, everyone that is already saved is in the ark of salvation. Could this be a prelude to getting rid of the door-to-door preaching work? Remember how slowly they introduced the generation change? You know, we always say they tell you before they tell you, they drop little hints. Well, this seems to be what's going on right now in the Watchtower. They're dropping some little hints. We've got to we've got to mute here. Okay. Yeah, don't in fact, when I ask you guys to speak up, you can speak up. We got a problem going on here. Hold on. All right. Okay. Just when I ask you to speak up, you guys can speak up, but kind of just cool it for now, and then I'll call you in so I can finish the story. So, anyways, this is a prelude in this October 2021 Watchtower Study Edition. It seems to me that they're getting rid of the door-to-door work, the preaching work as we know it, as we all went door-to-door. And they are doing this kind of like they tell you before they tell you. Let me just read paragraph 11 of the October Study Edition of the Watchtower. Now, I'm reading it right from the Watchtower verbatim. Early witnesses of Jehovah faced unresponsive listeners. For example, Noah was a preacher of righteousness, likely for decades. No doubt he hoped that others would respond favorably to his preaching, but Jehovah gave no such indication. Rather, when instructing Noah to build the ark, God said, "You must go into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you." And considering the dimensions and capacity of the ark that God told him to build, Noah may have realized that any response to his preaching work would be limited. So they're saying here in the Watchtower, they're likening the story here to Noah and his ark. He was given the commission to build the ark, and knowing that there wasn't much room for other people to come in because it was filled with all the animals, right? So he was realizing, well, there may not be a lot of people responding to his message. Now, as matters turned out, not one person, the Watchtower is saying here, not one person from that violent world responded to Noah's preaching. Can you see where I'm going with this? I mean, this seems to be really telling us the preaching work isn't working door to door anymore. The preaching work doesn't seem to be working at all. So then it says, did Jehovah view Noah as a failure? Well, he was building the ark. He couldn't get out and preach, right? No, not in God's eyes. Noah was a successful preacher because he faithfully did what Jehovah asked him to do. So I can see this coming. That I believe the door-to-door work is no longer going to be around. I really mean it. And the Watchtower is kind of giving a little hint. Because let me tell you something. The door-to-door preaching work has been very fruitless and very unproductive for the last 15 years. Don't you think so? If you're a witness and you get out in the last 15 years, I got out back in 2005. I was just fellowshipped for apostasy. But I can remember going out in field service, and you get out of the car and you knock on a door, nobody would answer. You could hear kids running around, you could hear music playing, and they were home, but they were hiding, as we would say. So nobody was even responding. But I can remember we'd get back in the car and be about 5 or 6 other witnesses in there, and they'd say, well, we're not having any good results today. They kept saying this, but they said, you know something? At least we're building one another up. At least it's good for us because we're building one another up. But there were nobody. Nobody wanted to respond in the last 15 years. So what a waste of time. And, I hear these, on watchtower.org, jw.org, I hear these talks they're giving, and they're all bragging about how there's so many circuits that are having upwards of 300 to 400 regular and auxiliary pioneers. Yet when it comes time for the baptism talk at these conventions, these circuit assemblies on, how they do it, they kind of go in a private pool. Nobody's getting baptized. They're talking about all these new pioneers, 300 or 400 regular pioneers and auxiliary pioneers. Nobody's getting baptized. When they mention how many baptisms they're having, they go, well, 1, 2, maybe 3, or even at times zero baptismal candidates. And then when you look at who's being baptized, Mainly, they're just very young children of Jehovah's Witness families. Friends, it's not working. The preaching work is not working. Jehovah's Witnesses, the message of the Jehovah's Witness cult is not being welcomed anywhere. This deadbeat JW parasite religion is a thing of the past. It's over. Stick a fork in them, take them off the grill. It's over. Watchtower right now is preparing everyone for another big drop in publishers. That's what they're doing. They want to explain why there's a big drop in publishers. Where is everybody? Everybody's heading out of the organization. Why is that? Well, we're not going to be preaching like we did. We're not in a saving mode anymore. You're in the spiritual ark and the doors are being closed. So that's how they're going to really report that, they're not growing anymore. And let me tell you something. They made all kinds of changes to try to get more and more recruits into the cult. And just in the last couple of years, remember we talked about it on the news? You could get 15 minutes a month in and still be considered a publisher. That formerly was reserved for older witnesses or people with health issues. In fact, right now at the present, you don't even have to give an amount. You remember how the servant, the service servant would call you up. How much time did you get in, Brother Farron? Well, I got 7 hours this month, or 10 hours this month. They're not even bothering to call you anymore. They're just putting it down that you're a publisher. You don't even have to give them any amount. So this keeps the active published numbers up, and they want them up. Well, I believe they want them up because of financial resolutions. They want to pass these financial resolutions. They need people to pass it with. So, by having more and more people, even if they're not really involved in going out in service, they still give money. In other words, you don't have to be a publisher to give money to the Watchtower. So they're hoping that, even though the members are decreasing, the people will still keep sending them money. So anyways, with all of these things taking place, that is all the activists that we're seeing on YouTube, all of the activists on Facebook and Reddit and JWN, and all the activists calling into this program, Six Screens. Every day, we get new activists popping up. And between the activists, the PMOs, and the COVID, I expect the numbers to be way down, even though they're only witnessing now through the letter writing and phone witnessing. So this is the last month. In fact, this week, the end of August is the last month of the service year. So their new service year begins in September. So we'll see what happens. I believe that's the case. It was in August. No, I believe August is the last month of the service year. Okay, so, I'm just thinking, here they are. At least I'm going to go on the record to tell you the door-to-door work is finished. I don't believe people will be going door to door anymore. It's so unproductive. It wasn't working. So, many witnesses, as I said, they're starting to think about what's taking place in the organization. And that particular article, I tell you what, we have to really take it and understand it, because that article, I'm going to just read you paragraph 12 on the October 2021 Watchtower, entitled "Don't Give Up." The prophet Jeremiah likewise preached for decades in the face of apathy and opposition. He became so discouraged by the insults and jeering of opposers that he thought of giving up his assignment. But did Jeremiah not give up? Well, this is interesting. This is very interesting. So they're showing that they want you to keep plugging along, but, the ministry work may be, they might be giving different ways of doing it. Let me put it that way, if they really even will. And then, I don't know if you saw JW.org, the program number 7, and that was given by Brother Loesch, Garrett Loesch. And he was giving numbers on there. They're so hard to believe. And how everything's increasing. And even during the COVID and the memorial attendance, this is all perverted information. In some areas it may, but in most areas, the Watchtower is dying. And how is it? How is it that a ministry can increase if for 1 year worldwide governments around the world instituted a law that prevented anyone, including the Jehovah's Witnesses, from going door to door in the ministry? It just couldn't happen. It just couldn't happen. Well, you're on JW World News. If you'd like to come in and talk about that, what do you think? Do you think the witness door-to-door work preaching is coming to an end? I'd like to hear from you. Go ahead and speak up. Go ahead. Don't be bashful. Come on in. What do you think? Let me get your thoughts on this. This is a program where you speak up and talk. I want to hear from you guys as well. So.
Hey, Rick, just before somebody else comes on.
Sure.
It seems like no matter what Watchtower is now saying from the podium, and they've said many things over the years, they always seem to be able to find scriptures that make it appear that the Bible backs up whatever they're saying at any given time. Thank you, Rick.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. We got some more callers. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Go ahead. You're on with us. Kansas. Yep.
Yeah. Now, this is Thomas Cox here, Lawrence, Kansas here. Yeah, you know, Rick, all this cynical information, all the things that's coming out of the internet. The internet's been pounding the Watchtower for over 20 plus years now. And man, they are really letting them have it. And little by little, we're seeing it's like we're getting closer to the top of the mountain now. You know, we'll keep climbing and climbing. One day we're going to reach the top. And all these lawsuits, everything coming against them, all the cynical information, the pedophilia, the shunning is really taking its toll on the Watchtower. I think they're finally realizing that, hey, they might have just quit preaching because a lot of people know about it, but it's so unfruitful. It's probably discouraging a lot of the JW. They thought, well, just have them write letters, make phone calls. That way they don't have to deal with all the things that they come up against at the door-to-door work.
Well, thank you, Thomas. Thank you very much. Good. Okay. So I just want to thank you, Thomas. I just want to mention those on the 6 screens video suite. It's some sound issues in there. Is it just a couple of people? Can some people hear all right? We get people calling in. I can hear. Okay. Yeah, the sound is okay. It's on your end, folks. Those that cannot hear, it's on your end. So turn the computer off and come back in again. All right. Let's see what else is going on. Do we have anyone else who wants to call in and talk to us before we move to the next subject? Okay. Let's see what else we got. Let's dig behind the curtains and see. Let me just get back in here and talk. Well, Watchtower lawyers. Well, in fact, I guess we got California. California, come on, say hello to us.
Rick, you're so cute.
Well, that's
Hi,
you.
Rick.
Yeah, hello, Constance.
Hello, dear. You know, Rick, just briefly, I work with a current JW. Actually, she's more like a PMO. I work with her 3 times a week. So, you know, honey, everything that you're saying is in complete harmony with what she's saying. It's all writing letters and phone calls. But, you know, as far as the door-to-door work is concerned, you know, the churches are completely open. I mean, I'm here in California, and the churches have been open since, you know, last Easter. Why in the heck does Watchtower still have all their kingdom halls closed? You know, it's because Watchtower has their own agenda. And as far as going door to door, that's their own agenda too, you know? But what I wanted to say is that they just want to use this COVID as an excuse for anything for themselves. And how I really see it is they're doing a whole new, like you say, Rick, a whole new marketing strategy. They're changing their whole entire direction and focus. And what they're doing is everything's on jw.org. And it's just going to be like, you know, what you see with the other Christian television, CBN and TVN. You know, you turn on the TV on those channels and it's 24/7. And that's exactly where Watchtower is going. So thank you, Rick. I really don't think they're going to be going door to door anymore. So I'm really happy. I get sick and tired of them ringing my doorbell.
Well,
thank you, Rick.
I believe you're right, Constance. I think the door-to-door work is all over. Well, how about those Watchtower lawyers? Will they continue to believe the Watchtower has God's backing? Well, I don't know if you caught this on Reddit or not, but we all know Mark O'Donnell. Well, he goes by the name, a pseudonym name is John Redwood. And we all know him. He's a really smart guy, and we really always appreciate his thoughts on Watchtower. Well, he had a post put up on Reddit, and people were to ask him, because he's worked with some of these court cases. He goes to some of these court cases where the Jehovah's Witness victims are being brought to court and being questioned and what have you about their victimizer, their abuser. And he's been in these court cases, and he wanted to open up and let you know about the lawyers on both sides of the track. So the question would be that was asked to Mark, how is it that Watchtower lawyers can continue to believe Watchtower has God's backing even when they see all the deception played out in court? Now, that is interesting, because what do you think? I mean, lawyers for the Watchtower, they see how firsthand and how deceptive the lies are in the Watchtower, how they withhold facts, stall tactics, and so many of the lawyers can see how the Watchtower deals while they're in a court setting. These Watchtower lawyers, many of them the elders, and what do you think? They assume that they are correct, but they see all of this. They know how corrupt the Watchtower is, but nonetheless, they still want to make a defense for the mother, for Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, you know, when you stop and think about it, you can really see that the lawyer's behavior is actually moved on by a personality that is not a Christian personality. These lawyers, if they're really going to be real Christians, as Jehovah's Witnesses say they are, and many of these lawyers are Jehovah's Witnesses, do they really have a Christian personality when they can see the Jehovah's organization, the Watchtower, is lying in court? Think about it. Now, I'm really surprised, and you would expect that many Watchtower lawyers would pull out of the organization at some time and exit the organization for conscience-related reasons. Wouldn't you think that? If you saw all the corruption and you're in there trying to defend the Watchtower on their position on child abuse, wouldn't you think that some of these guys would leave? Well, they're not. So I'm thinking, and I'm sure you guys are thinking too, how do these lawyers for the Watchtower internalize? How do they internalize the behavior and the effect this behavior has on child abuse victims? Friends, that's one of the reasons why I turned down being an elder. I was a ministerial servant, and they wanted me to be an elder. But seeing all of the child abuse, all of the corruption, I could not properly internalize this. I couldn't rationalize this. I did not want to be part of a corrupt organization. And to put it all simply, how do these lawyers, how do they even sleep at night? I know it's an old cliche, but how do they do that? So, well, anyways, that question was asked to Mark O'Donnell, John Redwood. That question was asked, how do they sleep at night? And Redwood came back, he said, the Jehovah's Witness legal department is managed by Jehovah's Witness elders, of course. There's a special group of these JW lawyers handling the child abuse case. It's hard to say how they sleep at night. I talk about this with the attorneys who represent the victims. The ones I work with are very moral. Now, these are the ones that are representing the victims. And John Redwood says that the ones he works with, they're very moral. And they're decent people who can't seem to understand why the Jehovah's Witnesses are doing what they are doing. And stop and think about that. Now, these are lawyers that are saying this organization's lying through their teeth. How is it they can do it? Well, I'm going to tell you, and John is the one that really is saying this. The answer, he says, is that it's partly religious fervor. It's very much the same thing we see happening in Afghanistan today. We see how the Taliban and ISIS-K over there, and how is it they can even act the way they do and not even have any respectful life? It's really because of religious fervor. So John Redwood is saying the answer to why the Watchtower lawyers act the way they do is it's partly because of religious fervor and the belief that God is backing them. And they have the backing, too, of the United States Constitution. Friends, that's another thing. That's another thing that gives the Watchtower the power that they have to some degree. The First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. And they take that and they overwork it, I'm sure. However, they are learning that this is becoming more and more difficult to do every day. When you have hundreds of child sex abuse cases and you're going to go into court every day, it's starting to really wear on some of these Jehovah's Witness lawyers. And another thing to keep in mind is that while the legal department is managed by Jehovah's Witness elders, they have far too many cases to handle them alone. So it's just unbelievable. There's so many cases of child abuse coming against a Jehovah's Witness organization. So Watchtower is hiring large numbers of non-Jehovah's Witness law firms in nearly every state to defend themselves in child abuse cases. This takes some of the pressure off the JW legal department, but it comes, friends, at a very high price. It's taking a toll on the organization, as it should. Now, something to always remember, we know Jehovah's Witnesses, well, they believe that the confessional process is sacred. In other words, when you go into an elder, just like when a Catholic goes into the priest, there's a certain amount of sacredness. So Jehovah's Witness believes when they confess to an elder, this process is sacred. They believe their process is higher than secular laws, and they also use the Constitution and secular laws to their advantage whenever possible. So we know all of that. So, it's really a religious situation here that's out of control. And their thinking and their handling of child abuse is not the way that things should be done by a Christian organization. Think about that. If these guys were real Christians, they would have stepped forward years ago, right after the Dateline program, when the world was first finding out about Jehovah's Witnesses back in 2002, was it? Yeah, 2002, I believe it was. That's when the Watchtower could have stepped forward and said, look, we have a problem. We're going to address it. Can you imagine if they would have done that then? They would have saved millions of dollars, but they didn't. They kept putting it under the rug, sweep it under the rug, let nobody know. Boy, I'll tell you. Now, I'm going to tell you another thing. Just recently, I guess in the last few weeks here, the New York Child Victims Act, their window just closed. And it was open for a couple of years for anybody of any age who was abused in any organization to come forward. It didn't matter how old you were now. There was no statute of limitation on the time. So many Jehovah's Witnesses came forward and they filed a lawsuit against the Watchtower. And according to John Redwood, man, there's so many cases. Well, in Montana right now, we remember the Nunez case. We had one of the young girls on here, Lexi, if you remember, she was on our program, and she talked about her and a friend being abused by the Watchtower. That case is now coming up for settlement in Montana. And then also there's 2 additional cases of sexual child abuse in Montana. It's happening right now. And is accused, elders were abusers in the congregation. And then in September, just coming up in another month or so, 2 elders will go to trial in Illinois for violating the mandatory reporting law on reporting child sex abuse. This is a groundbreaking case. This is going to hurt the Watchtower big time. Yes, there are cases popping up everywhere, and there's no frivolous cases. No, not one of these cases is like marginal or he said, you said, they said. No, they're not frivolous cases. They are hard, factual cases on people that have been abused, sexually abused, young children in the Watchtower. And the Watchtower is being held responsible, which they should be. And so that's all happening. But you know what the witnesses say? They just say it's an attack from Satan. And remember David Spleen we talked about it on JW World News a couple of weeks back, governing body member, and he said that we are at war. With who? With the apostates, with the news media. He says they always get a bad rap in the news media. Well, friends, how foolish is that? It's not a bad rap, David Spleen. It's not a bad rap at all. It's true what's happening, and you guys are just burying your head in the sand. So these are things that we have to consider, and I'm so glad all of us are listening in here tonight, or if you're PMO, or even if you're just a PME, and you're thinking about getting out, please find the exit door. So, I remember too in that talk, we talked about Spleen, David Spleen. He said, remain faithful and don't entertain the rotten food from the trash can. Well, he was saying apostates are given the rotten food, and the news media is given the rotten news. Oklahoma, run with us. Go ahead.
Well, I was thinking, they want to bash.
Chewy, come closer to your phone, Chewy.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, way better.
Okay. Yeah, they last year or this year they're bashing the governmental authorities. You can't touch any. Don't believe none of it. Don't believe none of it. And then last year they were saying, when the COVID thing hit, they were saying, "Oh, we are in subjection to the authorities. We are whatever they want to do, we'll do it. We'll do it." And then now the shoe's on the other foot. Now they got to swing it the other way. Now all the information from the government is from Satan. So they pick and choose. They go with the wind, whichever way the wind's blowing. Something I just picked up a couple weeks ago. Just kind of jogged my memory there a little bit.
Well, thank you, Chewy. Always good to hear from you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you commenting and coming in tonight. Thank you. All right. Well, yes.
Hi, Rick. I wanted to address what you were talking about as far as the Watchtower elders. Are they really Christian men, and how could they live with their conscience as far as, the decisions that they, bring up in the court of law and so forth? Rick, that's an excellent point. I have always wondered that, and I just would like to share with the audience. I am friends with an elder who was very, very close to Candace Conte. In fact, he was like her daughter. I'm not going to mention his name just to protect him. But anyway, he was an elder. He was one of the good elders. And, he did the deposition and the whole thing with Candace Conte. You can always go on do your research, do the depositions, look at that, and, find out the information I'm talking about. But the point I'm trying to make is that he had personally said to me, because we were talking about the court case afterwards, and he said the main attorney who was in Watchtower. Now, I don't recall his name. If somebody said it, I would say, yeah, that's the guy. He's the main head Watchtower attorney, okay? And this brother went through the whole trial with Candace Conte, and he said, Constance, I want to tell you, Watchtower is pure evil. They are an evil machine, including that attorney who was fighting against Candace Conte. So that was one thing I wanted to say. And the other thing, Rick, is, my spin on this is, how in the hell do you cover up child sexual abuse when these kids have been victimized? Watchtower not only covers it up, but they continue to perpetuate it with their stupid old Mosaic law of the two witnesses, which is a bunch of crap, okay? But the point I want to make is that as far as these attorneys are concerned, Rick, my spin on it, they're not Christians. They're not Christian attorneys, okay? This organization is not Christian. There's no way you can never slap God in the face and say that you are a Christian when you are covering up all these pedophile cases, okay? So the point I'm trying to make is that they're just corporate attorneys. That's all it is. Watchtower is just a corporation, and these are their attorneys that are, trying to protect Watchtower so that it saves their butts from all this money. So now that they have to have all these outside attorneys, oh my God, Rick, you know, here in California, the attorneys down in Silicon Valley, which is Google and Amazon, they charge $850 an hour. So I don't know, you know, what the other attorneys are going to charge, but if they're not a witness attorney and they're trying to, you know, do these court cases for the pedophiles, you know, I'm telling you, Watchtower is bleeding. They're going to be hemorrhaging, Rick, and that's why they're screaming for all this money and begging for all this money, because they know they're going to lose their butts with all this. But they're nothing more, honey. These attorneys are nothing more than corporate attorneys. They just want to win the lawsuit, and that's it. They're not Christian men by any means. So thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Constance. Yeah, go ahead. You're on with us. Yeah, Chewy.
Hey, Chewy. Hey, ma'am, the sister that was just on with the lawyer's name that you were thinking about, was that Philip Brumley?
No, honey, I don't believe it was Philip Brumley. It was somebody else. I have heard that name. I thought it was a brother that had a Scottish name. But anyway, this elder had said the guy was pure evil. Okay? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was shocked. I was really shocked.
Well, what I like.
Very shocked. And his brother, of course, no longer is a JW. He was one of the good elders, okay?
Hi, this is Linda. So I'm thinking that lawyer's name was Ash, last name Ash. A tall Caucasian man. Do you recall?
No,
I do know Brumley was in the room because I've seen something from the Candace County case, watching him walk out of the room. Brumley. But the other guy, I believe his last name was Ash.
You know what, Linda? I'll text this elder right now and see if I can get the answer to that. But Ash is not the name. But I'll text him right now, honey. Thank you.
Sure. Bye-bye.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, go ahead, Randy.
I was just going to say, during my litigation, I learned that the Watchtower attorney, he told me he was an elder and that everybody in these were also Jehovah's Witnesses, and he himself would give parts or at the conventions, at the large assemblies. And I got to tell you, I saw not only all kinds of deceit and corruptness and the dealings I had with them, but in my search for attorneys to represent me, I sought out some that had won some cases and got some settlements, like Love and Norris and some other ones. And they told me something that was outstanding. They said they've dealt with lawyers their whole life through the court and judicial systems. They've never seen any as corrupt as the Jehovah's Witness lawyers. And that's why Love and Norris said they were not even going to take any more cases, just because they didn't want to go up with somebody as crooked as those attorneys were.
Well, very good, Randy. Well, I'm with you. They are very, very crooked. No doubt about that. Okay, we got one more caller. Come on in. You're on with us. All right. Well, what Constance was saying, I thought was very interesting. Constance did bring up the fact that, lawyers that paid high price out there in California, some parts are getting $850 an hour. And even John Redwood was saying in that comment he made on Reddit that it's just unbelievable how many lawsuits the Watchtower has coming against them right now. And he said so many of these to save the lawyer costs and what have you, what Watchtower does is they settle out of court. And John Redwood was saying that so many settlements are taking place out of court. And that's what happens. I'm sure that if your child was abused by the Watchtower and you had good solid proof of it, you'd be in your car driving up to Warwick and say, hey, cut me a check. If not, we're going to court. And I'm sure they are paying big bucks on a weekly basis, maybe even on a daily basis. It's unreal. Well, I'll tell you what. They are snakes. They'll watch that. But, on the other hand, they're using all these outside firms, too. Can you imagine what that's costing? Oh, my goodness. The legal fees are going to be running in the millions. And they could have avoided it all. Minnesota, is it? Michigan, you're on with us.
Yeah, Mr. Farron.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll make this quick right here. And I've been listening with interest to what you've been saying here too long and all that. And I said it once and said it before. These attorneys are without conscience. They don't have any conscience. They are not Christian. They're not of any kind of a religion whatsoever. They're no kind of believers at all. What they're doing is they're going to say anything in defense of the Watchtower, since the Watchtower hired them. They don't care about guilt or innocence, or they don't care about who was the injured party and so forth. They're going to do everything they can to win the case, and they're going to present the best persuasive argument they can, unless they're backed in the corner to the point where they just don't have anything to offer and so forth. But yeah, they're there, just to win their case for their client, and they're there to get as much money as they can out of it. So so judge for yourselves. The Watchtower Society used to call other churches greedy commercialists. Judge for yourself now who the greedy commercialist is.
Well, you got that one right. Greedy commercialist. I'm with you, Ken. I'm on the same train. Yeah, so what?
Hey, Rick, I also want to point out that the elders that are lawyers in-house, they're not volunteers. They get paid large bucks, too.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we had years ago, we had a woman come on the program, I would say 10 years ago, and her husband was a Watchtower lawyer, and she said they lived really, really good. She says they lived really so much better than the average Jehovah's Witness. And boy, she had stories to tell us. It was just totally, totally amazing. Thank you, Randy. Yeah, let's, in fact, I want to just say this, that, what happens though? I mean, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they have got to see some of these articles in the newspaper. They have got to be seeing some of these documentaries on television about the Jehovah's Witnesses and how they're covering up child abuse. They got to be seeing it. And, they are aware of it. Friends, I want to tell you right up front here, many Jehovah's Witnesses are seeing these documentaries. They are watching them. And but it's very much the Jehovah's Witnesses also, they're very aware of the overlapping generation and how foolish that is. Many Jehovah's Witnesses will even tell you point blank it's foolish. And they know that the generation that would not die has died. Many witnesses know that. And they can see that the door-to-door work has stopped for almost 2 years. And they see with their own eyes that all the books and magazines are almost at a complete stop. Yet if you went up to one of Jehovah's Witnesses and said, hey, well, what's going on in your organization? There's all these changes. You guys going to stay in it? They would say, well, this means that we are real close to the end. That's what they'd tell you. That's what they would tell you. Not all. Many are seeing the light and they are leaving. Boy, I will tell you. Well, we talk about this stuff every Saturday night, and there's always something to talk about. I can't believe what the Watchtower is getting away with, and how many of Jehovah's Witnesses, it's not even going over their head, but they'll say, well, they're imperfect men, and there are pedophiles in every organization, and we're getting real close to the end. How can you really think like that? How can you even enjoy a day if you gotta belong to the only channel of God's planet on the earth and see all of the problems in that organization? Wouldn't you say, if this is God's channel, why we have so many problems? They're not asking those questions. Boy, I'll tell you. So anyways, you're on 6 Screens, JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about, but we're glad to talk about it. And we talk about it every Saturday night here on the 6 Screens and every other Sunday. Now, tomorrow, 6 Screens Sunday. Did you know that? Did you know we have a program on Sunday? Well, it begins at 1 o'clock. Now, I want to encourage you all. Now, on Saturday night, we don't get in and preach. I don't preach to you. I'm a Christian man. I'm proud of it. But I don't preach to you. But on Sunday, if you'd like to come in, it takes a more spiritual feel on it. We have programs designed for people that want to continue to learn about God. And that's what always baffles me. How could people be in this so-called godly organization, and when they leave, it's like, that's it, I've had enough. I don't want to talk about God. I don't want to talk about nothing. And they leave God behind. Now, I'm not saying you have to join a religion or you got to go to a church. I'm just saying, look at, still think about God, pray to God. A lot of people do. They leave the watch and they still love God. And I hope that's you listening in. Now, if you want to know what many Jehovah's Witnesses do for their faith in spirituality when they leave the Watchtower, we'll come in tomorrow, Sunday, beginning at 1 o'clock. There's a program, it's called Knowing God. And we have two guys that come on, Jody and Scott. These guys are dynamite. They have a program called Knowing God. Come in tomorrow, listen to the 1 o'clock. You can listen. If you don't like it, turn it off. But these guys are good. And then at 2 o'clock, we go to JW World News Sunday edition. And then at 2:30, Anne Marie with a program Searching for God's Truth in the New World Translation. She comes on at 2:30. Tomorrow, she's going to be discussing, she's going to be discussing John 1:1. Oh, my goodness, she's going to tackle that one. That's a big one. That's tomorrow on the 6 screens. And then, of course, at 4 o'clock, Jay Hess. Oh, my goodness, Jay Hess. Well, he was a former writer. He was associated with the writing department of the Watchtower. And he has his own program, Making Disciples with Jay Hess. That's tomorrow at 4 o'clock right here on the 6 screens Telenetwork. All right, let's get back to what's going on in the news. Well, let's talk about the governing body update number 7. Garrett Loesch, my buddy. I knew Garrett Loesch. I spent a whole day with him down in Watchtower. I was being interviewed for a position on the governing body. I spent a whole day with governing body member Loesch. I know him. Now, he is on this update number 7, and he wants all Jehovah's Witnesses to wear their COVID masks. That's what he's saying. Loesch talks about unity in Jehovah's organization. Then he talks about people getting angry and divisive, and even goes on to the observation of who would have guessed that wearing masks is controversial. Yeah, he's saying many Jehovah's Witnesses feel that wearing the mask is controversial. They don't want to wear it. Basically, you get the sense of his warnings. Jehovah's Witnesses, aren't they supposed to stay neutral? Aren't they? And not get involved in the politics or social activisms of this world? Well, he's kind of promoting that. He's kind of promoting that they don't remain neutral anymore. They go along with what the flow would be. I mean, a witness should have the right whether he wants to wear a mask or not. And then he says, but out there, wherever that would be, I guess out on the internet, he mentions that there are conspiracy websites out there. But then he says, if we are not careful, we could be emotionally involved in these conspiracy debates, I guess. So, I don't know if he listens into the Watchtower. Maybe he's been listening to Reese. So he seems to be saying that, witnesses don't get involved in these conspiracy theories that you're hearing by apostates. He's tying apostates and conspiracy theorists in the same vein here. So he says, how could we allow ourselves to be guided by the voice of strangers instead of listening to Jehovah's channel, the faithful and discreet slave? He mentions that a lot. I'm going to play the video. I want you to hear this. This is unbelievable. I want you to hear it. And I got thinking, why are Jehovah's Witnesses, nosing around, getting themselves involved in everyone's life? Don't you think masks should be a personal issue? Why is it a governing body member has to come on and say, wear a mask? Well, let me get the video up. I got it right here. And let me just see what we got to do here. Just give me a second. I got to get on my, I got to get in here and find out. Let me just get to my news here. Just give me a second. And then I can tell you where I have to come in and where we'll splice it and what have you. So let me just do that. Just stay with me here right now. Bear with me. Wow, I'm so glad you're on with us tonight. Boy, I'll tell you what, we're having a good night. We got Reese coming up next. So you want to make sure that you stay in for that. I know you're really going to enjoy his program. He's going to be talking about Afghanistan and how he's claiming there's going to be a big terrorist attack coming up. So by all means, Reese is coming on at 9 o'clock. We want you to stay in with us, and I know you'll enjoy the program. Let me just get up here where we have to go, and then we'll be able to get this up. Just give me a second here. All right here. All right, I just got to get this up. What it is, I try to find there's certain places where you come in. Yeah, just give me a second. I'm a one-man operation here. I'd like to have another person in here that could help me, and that would be good. But let's get in. We're going to start at 7:20. Let me get the video up, and then we're going to start at 7:20. I just got the information for that. And we're going to go to 9:14. So let's play that. Let me get that up right now. 7:20. Let's get Brother Loesch up.
I'm here with you, Rick.
All right, Marie. I know why Brother Loesch isn't coming up. Oh, here he is here. Okay. So we're going to go into 7:20. And then I want you to hear what Brother Loesch says here. Governing body member, this is the latest JW video. I want you to hear what he says about, the mask and about conspiracy theories. And I think you'll find it fascinating. He's tying conspiracy theories in with apostates. So let's hear what he has to say here at 7:20. Just got to slip it back here. All right, let's start about here.
To any agreement, they quickly become fierce, taking strong positions on all types of issues. As Christians, we are no part of the world. We stay out of those debates. For example, who would have thought that wearing a mask to prevent the spread of disease could become an issue? From the time when we were little children, our parents taught us to cover our mouth when we coughed or sneezed. In his precious word, Jehovah outlined many practical measures that would prevent the spread of disease. So how could wearing a mask become controversial for some? Where is that thinking coming from? We have to be careful. All of us are exposed to worldly thinking on television, on the internet, at work, or at school. There are many websites that promote conspiracy theories. If we are not careful, we could become emotionally involved in these debates. We could allow ourselves to be guided by the voice of strangers instead of listening to Jehovah's channel, The Faithful and Discreet Slave. As we face the end of this system of things, this will become more and more essential to our safety and spirituality. That's why we appreciate you, dear brothers and sisters, so much. As soon as you discern that Jehovah's Spirit is directing the governing body to go in a certain way, you are quick to follow. And as a result, we enjoy precious unity.
Well, that's Brother Loesch. Now, he's the first one to be telling you here, let's not get involved in debates, saying it's somewhat frivolous. Don't listen to these conspiracy theories. But yet he's on here telling you to wear your mask. He says, when we were little kids that your mother and father told you when you sneezed or coughed to put your hand over your mouth. So who's the one here raising the roof on getting involved in a debate? Well, it's him, the governing body member. Why doesn't he just remain neutral on it? Why can't he just say that, there's a lot of conditions in the world that have changed and we're leaving it up to our brothers and sisters to make a personal decision? No, he's telling you to put a mask on. So, how is it that, he wants to remain not controversial? He doesn't want you to get involved in controversy, but that's exactly what he's doing. He's getting you involved in controversy. Boy, I'll tell you. Okay, let's move forward here. I'm gonna go forward here, and let's see what else we got here. We're gonna move forward up to, another thing I wanted to mention too is they're really pushing, the governing body members are really pushing the COVID virus pandemic and scaring the witnesses till the death, because they are making out like bandits. We say it every Saturday night. They're making it out like bandits. And they're saying, follow the secular authorities. Make sure that you wear your mask, as Loesch is saying here, and make sure you get your vaccination. Basically, that's what they've been telling the witnesses to get the vaccination. They seem to be butting their nose in everyone's business. And, how is it that they even have any claim here on Jehovah's Witnesses being protected? The last time I checked, 20,000 Jehovah's Witnesses have died of COVID, and the death-related rate to COVID virus is several times higher in the Jehovah's Witness than in the devil's world. So where is Jehovah?
Brother Farron, I think it might be an issue of religious exemption being taken away. Also, they had a lot of very old members. But the thing that really disturbs me, Loesch is a good speaker, and he's using that kindergarten hypnotism voice. So that's all I have to say this evening, and I'm looking forward to Reese's show tonight.
Well, Reese is going to come on. He's coming on in about a half hour. I was on the phone with him a couple of hours today. I am just shocked. He's going to be talking about things that nobody else is talking about. He's going to be talking about the Afghan and what's going on there and what his thoughts are on it. I mean, he claims a lot of things, so we'll see what he has to say. Thank you, Pixie. Hypnotic voice of his. Well, he's Austrian. He speaks, I believe it's 9 languages. And, I'm not going to say Brother Loesch is a bad person. I knew him personally. I really did. I got to talk to him on the telephone. He invited me down and talk with him. So I know the man, and I wonder how he ever got rambled and bamboozled into this organization. But he's 70, I believe he's 78 years old now. He's getting old. All the governing body members are getting old, and many people say, well, what's going to happen when they all die? Well, they got helpers, but, they're not going to go. I don't think they're even going to go with this helper idea. I think they're going to go back to like a one-man coming in that might run the organization. That's just my feelings. Well, enough of that. Let's move forward a little bit. I want you to hear what he has to say concerning how Satan continues to cause divisions. And then he says, listen to the channel. Listen to the channel. The channel is the faithful and discreet slave. And listen to what guidance they're giving you today. Do you want to listen to the guidance from the Watchtower? Are you serious, Brother Loesch? All right, let's move it forward here. Well, let's go up to 9. Well, where are we here? We're going to go up to 1915. Hold on, we'll just slide the slider. 1915. We're going to go up and see what Loesch has to say about that. He's coming up here next. So 1915. You kind of want to go right to the very end. 1915. Okay, here we go. All right, let's start right about here. Let's start here, okay?
Thing.
Well, I don't know what happened there, but let's slide back.
So, what have we learned in this update? Jehovah's organization is on the move. Even during this pandemic, we see strong...
Brother Loesch, Jehovah's organization, that chariot that's on the move, it's got a flat tire. It's just not moving, Brother Loesch. It's nice to come on and, put a pretty suit on and look good in the public here with a beautiful background. But Brother Loesch, the organization, I got news for you. It's not moving forward.
Evidence that Jehovah's Spirit is blessing and moving ahead the preaching and disciple-making work. Despite many challenges, you, dear brothers and sisters, are working hard to maintain our precious unity. As a result, we are enjoying a spiritual paradise as we work unitedly together. Satan will continue to try to stir up division, even among Jehovah's people. What can we do to successfully resist his efforts? Listen to the channel that Jehovah is using, the faithful and discreet.
Listen to the faithful and discreet slave. Well, whatever happened to Jesus? Can I just remind people here of Christianity? The Watchtower says they're a Christian organization, but don't Christians really say listen to Jesus? Do I have this wrong? Is my mind mixed up? Well, what's this? Listen for direction from the faithful and discreet slave, Jehovah's channel. He mentions Jehovah's channel at least 5 times in this 20-minute talk he has. Boy, they really pull that channel bit on you. How about listening to Jesus? I think that's a better person to listen to. All right. You're on with us. You're on JW World News. What would you like to say?
I just wanted to say, this is Joe, number 4747. I just wanted to say they have set themselves up as gods, and it's blasphemy when they don't draw people to Jesus. They're drawing people to themselves, and that's really disgusting and sickening. If I'd have known this 49 years ago, I'd have told my mom as a little boy, I don't want that paradise book pushed in front of my face. Thanks, Rick.
Well, thank you, Colorado. Thank you for chiming in with us and giving your thoughts on this. Yeah, it's really into what I see changing here. I really do. The Jehovah's Witness organization, the Watchtower, they never got involved in social affairs or feelings of the world, but boy, have they changed just in the last couple of years. Obey the secular authorities, listen to them, get your vaccination, wear your mask. Man, this organization is changing right before us. It's just unbelievable what they're getting away with. And did you guys hear about the Watchtower Pyramid being vandalized? Did you hear about that? Well, that's Charles Taze Russell's burial place in Pennsylvania, Rosemont Cemetery in Allegheny, Pennsylvania. Now, I have to tell you, it's a little upsetting for some Jehovah's Witnesses and even upsetting for ex-witnesses to see Russell's pyramid. I mean, it's a monument to Russell, not that we all pay homage to him, but in some respects, I mean, let's at least call a spade a spade. He was the founder of the Watchtower, but it was actually vandalized. The pyramid was vandalized. I have a video I want you to listen to here. It'll talk about it. If you're on Facebook, you'll see it. So let me see if I can't get that up. Let's move in. Here we're going to talk about this pyramid being vandalized. And these are the Watchtower historians. They do a great job. They're on YouTube. That's where I got the information from. But let's just go forward here. Just listen in and see what you think. But it was vandalized. I don't know if you ever saw the pyramid. But hold on. Let's play the video. That's coming up next. Let's see right here. Let's go here.
His bright ideas to erect the pyramid as a monument. Here's the one about Pilgrim J.A. Bonet.
Hold on 1 second, folks. I might have gone a little bit too far. Let me just go back
the last one.
Here a little bit. Let me see what's going on. Hi. Had it right.
Totally shocked as to how to.
Well, I had it right here. Let me just see. I guess that must be let me just kind of go back a little bit here. We got the wrong video up. And going back on YouTube is a real pain in the neck, but I wanted you to see this. Just give me a second here to straighten this out. Sometimes when I have things all set up on my computer, and then all of a sudden we lose it. But let's see if we can't go back and get what we're looking for here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know if you guys, did you hear that? I mean, has anyone out there ever saw the pyramid? Has anyone ever saw the pyramid? It was amazing. I've been down there myself in Pennsylvania. I saw that pyramid. I had to go down and check it out for myself because I totally didn't believe it. But let's see if we can't get that right video up for you guys.
I've heard of this. It happened
Masonic temple.
a while back.
Yeah, there's a Masonic temple.
Yeah. So let's go with it now. Go ahead, Linda. Go ahead.
It's hollow inside, and somebody broke in.
Yeah. Let me. I got it up here now. Let's play it.
Good. Good.
Right now, we're at the end of August 2021. And we have some breaking news and some sad news for those who follow Watchtower history, that the pyramid monument that Watchtower erected for the graves that are around Charles Taze Russell's grave has been vandalized. Months ago, the cross and crowns were chiseled out, and recently the monument was propped open, and the top stone, the cornerstone at the top, was pulled off. And up until the 1990s, no one had bothered the monument at all. In the 90s, it was cracked open, and the reason it was probably cracked open is because the 1919 convention report mentions that there was a box inside that had old rare Watchtower literature. Well, that box is no longer there. This is not our discovery. This is something we found out through some of our anonymous Watchtower historian friends, and we have some friends that live out in the area, and we've sent them out to take the pictures and the video that you see here.
Yeah, and it is a shame, regardless of your anger toward the religion or whatever. It's still a historic monument, and I hate to see historical things desecrated in such a way. But time goes on. I have a little respect for the dead in that regard, regardless of what your personal feelings are. I hate to see that destroyed, whether you like the man or disagree with him or look at him as a false prophet, whatever your viewpoints are.
And the monument yields yet another mystery. On top of the monument are the initials F.K. and the date 1919, which is, of course, when it was built. I couldn't figure out.
Nobody realized what the FK was on there. They really didn't know. But that's the Watchtower Pyramid, that giant pyramid. I saw it myself. I went down back in, it would have been the middle 90s, and I saw it, and it was kind of discouraging to see it. I wasn't a witness at the time. I was just getting out, but I did see it, and boy, it was all covered with moss, but there was the cross and the crown on there. Someone took a chisel and a hammer and chiseled that off for some reason. And who was it? Who knows? I mean, was it the Watchtower themselves trying to get rid of some of their history? Or was it irate apostates? No one knows who vandalized the pyramid. So I thought that was fascinating. I want you guys to see that tonight. Well, I'm glad you're with us. Yes.
To me, it makes sense, your thought that perhaps it could have been someone from Watchtower, because if that stone monument isn't hard copy evidence, I don't know what is of their background that they've been denying for so long. Thank you, Rick.
Yes, thank you, Anne-Marie. In fact, someone pried open. It's hollow, like Linda was just saying there a few minutes back. It's hollow, and it was actually recorded on a convention when they were talking about the convention in one of the Watchtower publications of 1919. It was recorded that in the hollow pyramid was some very rare books, I guess it was, from the Watchtower that would be in there. So someone tried to get them out of there, or maybe the Watchtower itself said, hey, we can't have those books in there. They have some information we don't want people to know. I don't know. No, nobody knows. It's still a mystery. So I wanted to play that for you folks tonight. But, I went down there back in the mid-90s, like I say, and my former wife and I went there, and I can remember we went to the site, and I was wondering where it was. It's a huge cemetery. I mean, it's really, really big. So I couldn't find the site. So I went to the person who was in charge of the cemetery, the curator, whoever they call them, and she told me where to go. She said it's in the Masonic cemetery part. So I thought that was kind of interesting. The Masonic cemetery part, where Masons are buried. So that's where the pyramid was. So I found it. And boy, I'll tell you, it was amazing when I saw it. It was so like, wow, there it is. I didn't see it. I heard about it, but I didn't really totally believe it because I was just getting out of the organization. And lo and behold, there it was. I says, whoa. So afterwards, we went out to Wendy's. It was a Sunday. So we stopped at Wendy's to get something to eat. And we were in there. It was in right outside the cemetery, and sitting next to us, I could tell it was a witness family. The woman had a nice, pretty dress on. The man was in a suit, and he had his little kids there. And I could tell they were witnesses. So I reached over the table and said, "Hey, you guys Jehovah's Witnesses?" They said, "Yeah, we are." I says, "Well," I kind of, said I was too. I was just getting out. "Well, I'm a witness too." "Well, where are you from?" They said, "I'm from Massachusetts." And these guys are from Pennsylvania, of course. So they said, "Well, what brings you down here?" I says, "Well, I came down to see Russell's tomb. I came down to see the pyramid." So they said, "Well, you don't believe all of that, do you?" They said, "You don't believe all of that, do you?" I says, "Well, I just came from the cemetery and I saw it." He says, "Well, the apostates put that pyramid there." I says, "Well, that's kind of crazy." I says, "I don't really know if I totally believe that." "Oh, yeah, no, that's true." They said, "There's a Jehovah's Witness brother that runs tours. You can take a tour and he'll drive you by it, but he talks all about, I guess, how the apostates put it there." What a crock of baloney. Nobody in the organization can even tell the truth because they don't know the truth. The truth would kill them. And, they still deny, many witnesses, that no, that Watchtower didn't put it there. The apostates put it there. Oh, sure. All right. So I wanted to bring that up. Hey, I want to talk about what's going on. I'm going to see if our friend from Oregon, now out in Oregon, there's some lawyers out there that are willing to listen to some shunning cases. Evidently, they're listening in and they want to get some people to speak up about being shunned in the Watchtower, and perhaps they can file some type of a legal suit, class action suit against the Watchtower. Daniel from Oregon, are you on there with us? Daniel from Oregon. I know we have two Daniels from Oregon, but this is the other Daniel from Oregon, not the one that's on with a pasta babe. Daniel, you on there with us?
Yeah, I'm on.
All right.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Daniel. Yes. So, okay, Daniel, I think we got to count to 5 for me. We got a little bit of an echo. Let's see what's going on. Go ahead, count to 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, you're nice and clear, just like in the other room. So, Daniel, you did contact me and you talked to me about some lawyers that may be interested in perhaps looking into the shunning policies of the Watchtower. What do you have to say about that, Daniel?
Well, I can give people the way to connect with the attorneys. What they need and what we need is people's stories. And we need to let, write a story of how you're affected. Like for example, one of my nieces was a pioneer, and she was excommunicated because she took a $2 gift at a Medford Mall in Southern Oregon. And it was interpreted by the witnesses by the elders to be something for Christmas, and she said it was not. And they took her and shunned her. And so her mother and her stepdad actually gave her a suitcase and told her to get out of the house, and she had to go talk to a neighbor to find housing, and then she never went back. Another niece was, she smoked cigarettes when she was 14. Both of them were 14 at the time. Amber was 14 when she was excommunicated, and Lisa was 14. She was excommunicated, but she had never even been baptized. She was smoking cigarettes at school, which nobody promotes, but that happens with teenagers. She was actually physically taken in front of the Kingdom Hall, and everybody was told to shun her. So she left her family, and about a few months later, her mother, who had a brain tumor, died, and I was there. My mother called me to come down. I was still a witness at the time, and she was shunned, and no one would talk to her, and no one would allow her to come to her funeral. And I have another niece, 3 different nieces, 2 different brothers. I have 5 brothers. Another niece that was sexually molested by her stepbrothers, and it was not reported to the authorities. And they ended up being caught by the school or elsewhere, and they ended up going to prison. My niece, Amber, was also abused at 7 years of age by her father, and she actually had to be hospitalized. It was so serious. and the hospital informed the authorities. And that's the only reason that happened. And that's been common. And then everybody gets shunned. My mother was denied access to 3 of her children who have been shunned. Actually, my oldest brother Mario was shunned from the time he was 14. He left the witnesses because he just wanted to check out other religions. And he was put out of the house, but he had a place to go, and fortunately for him. But my mother ended up shunning him from the time he was 14 till his death, and he was 73 when he died. So the shunning is a serious means of control. I think everybody already knows this. I'm not saying anything new. My mother had to shun during her lifetime 3 of her children, 11 of her grandchildren, and 9 of her great-grandchildren. So I've been trying to find somebody that would consider this. And I found this legal intake specialist. And if people have pen and paper, they can write this down, because I think if people tell their story, don't embellish it, just tell their story. But also, I think it's good to make people see it. It's like Rudyard Kipling used to say, to make people look at the picture, he would describe details of what's happened. For example, a guy was being walked to the gallows, and he described how the man had stepped around a puddle of water. He didn't want his feet to get dirty, although he was going to be executed a few seconds later. So it made people look, made people think about it. And I think if people do that, describe the details of what's happened, that it'll create an effect. What we need is a lot of people to write in, because if they're going to take this on, the name of the person to write to is Kristen Doherty, Kristin, and that's the first name, Doherty. She's a legal intake specialist. Now, if you're going to send it in the mail, the mailing address is 1200 Northwest NATO Parkway. I'll spell NATO, Naito, NATO Parkway, 1200 Northwest NATO Parkway, Suite 500. And that's in Portland, Oregon. The zip code is 97209. And I think she just wants to hear the stories. They're kind of thinking about what they want to do. Now, her phone number is 503-306-0224. Her fax number is 503-467-9940.
So what we'll do, Daniel, is if you could email
I have an email too.
All right, hold on one second. You could email me all of those numbers you just shouted out to jwworldnews@gmail.com. JWWorld. Okay.
worldnews@jw.com.
It's jwworldnews@gmail.com.
Okay.
All right. Now, what you want to do is give me all that information. Then what I'll do is I'll put it up on our Six Screens website, a web group on Facebook, and then people can get it in there. Okay.
I'll give you her email too.
Yeah, send that. Well, don't send it. Don't even bother giving it to me now. Just send it to me. Then I can put it up, because people will be able to get it a lot easier. Okay.
Okay, it'll probably be tomorrow before I get a chance to.
All right, well, that's okay. You can do it tomorrow, do it Monday, but I'll put it up. I'll get it up so people can at least, and I'll put it up when I put the archives of this program up too on JW World News. So that's good. So what you're saying here? So let me just see if I got this right. This woman or this firm, this legal firm, that they want to hear more about.
Legal intake specialist.
All right. I'm not familiar with that term, but what is that?
Well, that's what she calls herself. I'm not familiar with it either.
All right. So she's going to evidently take information and perhaps initiate some type of a lawsuit against the Watchtower. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, they're evaluating what they want to do.
All right. So
they're evaluating, and they're interested in the sexual abuse that's so common too with Jehovah's Witnesses, because the Jehovah's Witness teaching. I mean, there are areas. I mean, Belgium has actually started fining Jehovah's Witnesses for some of their behavior, and recommending that the European nations do it too. that they belong to the European Union. So there is progress being made of awareness of what the Jehovah's Witnesses are doing, just as you've been talking about earlier.
Yeah, well,
what's
got my attention here, Daniel, is, in all of these exposés, documentaries, and what have you, that have been coming on television, and of course articles in major newspapers and magazines about the witness problems, that this is another area. I mean, right now, a lot of lawyers are making money. Now, I'm not saying this is all about money here, but these are lawsuits that are just waiting to happen. And the shunning has never really been successful. There's been attempts at trying to sue the Watchtower over shunning, but it's never happened. But maybe in light of all of the bad press about the Watchtower, in light of how evil they are, maybe this could be the catalyst to getting a lawsuit like this started. So, geez, I think it's great that you can at least call in and let us know about that. Thank you.
Yeah, one of the things I think about is that there was a case that went to the state Supreme Court and all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, and it was about shunning, but it was a weak case. The woman who filed the case was being shunned at a Tupperware party, but it goes far beyond that. I mean, 10-year-old children are being shunned by their parents because the organization tells them to. That's a whole different ballgame, and so the courts need to know, they need to see the picture of what's really happening with children, and how children are coerced into getting baptized and then being held to a standard that they couldn't possibly understand. Even a young teenager can't understand.
Yes.
And that's what I think is there is a case there, because it is blackmail and it is coercion. It's slavery too. I mean, I know we think of slavery, we think of the slavery that happened in our own country before the Civil War. Well, that's a different kind of slavery, but this is slavery too, because it forces people to stay in the religion, even because of this the threat of excommunication. And we've had 2 family murder suicides in Oregon, so it's a serious thing. Okay, I'll stop.
No, sir, I'm sorry I interrupted. I just wanted to add to what you were saying, and thank you so much for what you're saying. It used to be in the old days that when somebody filed for divorce, they often would add alienation of affection. If, say, some guy had, wooed the guy's wife away from the husband, alienation of affection was a legal term that could be, exonerated or prosecuted or whatever. And the thing is that this is not just, like you said, it's blackmail, but it's emotional blackmail and emotional torture. And the thing is, it's so true what you're saying. These young ones are pushed and coerced. And it's like, if you don't do this, they know they're not going to be loved by their family. They are literally blackmailed into getting, into this contract with organization, and then they get shunned in their own home. I read of a 12-year-old who got baptized when he was told to, and then he did some stupid little thing and got upset because they were always telling him what he had to do, what he couldn't do, what he was doing wrong. And I guess they didn't like his attitude, so they disfellowshipped him. He's 12 years old, and he was being shunned every minute of every day and night in his own home. He was not allowed to come to the table or even be in the kitchen while the family was having dinner, and he would have to eat in his room and stay in his room and not allowed to talk to anybody in his own home. So on a legal level, I'm thinking of what Dr. Phil said. The number one human need is actually not love. The number one human need is to be accepted. And the number one horrible thing to happen, he said, is rejection. And this is why Watchtower is so evil. And then they claim that it's a religious thing, and under the freedom of religion, they're allowed to do this evil. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie. So that's good, Daniel. So what else you want to tell us, Daniel? Well, you feel personally moved by this. You've been out of the Watchtower for how long?
I'd love to have the phone number again. Thanks.
I lived last about 1985.
All right. Go ahead. Give the sister the phone number.
Well, the legal intake specialist that I'm talking to is named Kristen Doherty, and her phone number is 503-306-0224. And I'll go ahead and give you the email. I'll fax it.
Go ahead.
Kristen, Kristin at CREWJANCI, Krujanci.com. KRISTIN at CREWJANCI.com. And
Again, please, sir.
the email, KRISTIN, Kristen, at CREWJANCI.com. C-O-M. Kristen at Krujanci.com, the way I read it. I'll get this to Rick. What was the email again, Rick?
JWWorldNews@gmail.com.
Okay, that's pretty easy. I'll get some of this information to you tomorrow.
All right, good. Excellent. Thank you.
I think there's a case with children because the slavery of children, and there's numerous, I've written some articles I put in the newspaper in Willamette Week and Portland, Oregonian, and I've cited cases where, I've cited the references in the Watchtower literature where they're telling parents to get their children baptized, and telling children not to be afraid to come under the authority of the elders. So actually what's happening when children get baptized is
the following program is
parent is they come under the authority of the congregation, they're not under the authority of their parents anymore. That's what I see happening so much. And that's, I think, an approach that the courts could be very, very interested in.
Well,
also the sexual molestation too thing.
Yeah. Well, no, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the program tonight and tell us about that. And I think we're going to get some people writing. I'll write myself. I'll call the woman and let them know how I have been shunned, and all of the people that have been listening tonight. If you've been shunned, here's a shot. We're putting it in the hands of some legal people, and they might be able to do something with this and take the ball and run with it. So we're looking forward to it. Well, thank you, Daniel, for calling in from Oregon. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You have a good day.
Thank you. Well, that's Daniel out there in Oregon. We got two Daniels. We got Daniel from Oregon. He comes on a late night show at Apostle Babe, and we got two Daniels in Oregon, so that's good. So anyways, we're going to be going to Reese here very shortly. Got a couple of minutes. Just a couple of reminders. I want people to know we do have a program tomorrow, Sunday. Come in tomorrow, beginning at 1 o'clock. It takes on a little bit different feel, like we say. It's a little more spiritual, so when you leave the Watchtower, don't leave God behind. So if you want to know a little more about scriptures, if you want to know some reasons why people leave the Watchtower because of scriptural reasons, theocracy reasons, well, come on in tomorrow. We'll be able to help you with that. That's beginning at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock tomorrow, right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. Friends, we had a good program tonight. I want to thank all those people that came in and spoke up. That's very, very good. You do that. People love that when you speak up. It makes all the difference in the world. And I want you to join our Facebook group, Six Screens of the Watchtower Facebook group. Get into Facebook and join that group. And also join us on YouTube and spread the word for us. Let people know that we do this every Saturday night, and we're here with many people who call in to help you know what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, we're going to be going to Reese here very shortly. Let's get a few promos up. And the last one, Chewy, yes, go ahead. We got 1 minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is just real short. I was over at a friend's house, and he doesn't ever get on the Six Screens, but he's in our same boat. And we were sitting talking, and he said, "I heard you on YouTube." I said, "Really? How's that?" "Yeah, a couple of weeks back, you and another ex-Bethelite, you were talking on that, and I listened to you on YouTube. But as soon as they heard your voice, and I heard it was Chewy. I said, yeah, that's Chewy. He's on there. So word's getting around.
Well, let's get around, Chewy. You're becoming famous out there in Oklahoma. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, well, stay with us. Stay with us. We're going to Reese. He's going to be doing the program Watchtower and the Occult Connection. Don't leave us now, but I do have to end YouTube. Now, listen, if you're on YouTube and Facebook and you want to listen to Reese, there's a telephone number. Let me give you the number. You can listen in on telephone, 727-731-6701. 727-731-6701. Or go to 6greensofthewatchtower.com. Scroll down. You can see the numbers on there. You can also check into our video suite. Hit the video suite link. Put a fictitious name in if you like. And bingo, you can listen on the internet. So join us there. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower. Please turn off the new light. Watchtower Occult Connection coming up next. Thank you. We're going to end it. Yes, I have to end. I also have to, I'm going to keep Facebook going for the time being. So we're going to end this. Okay.